G'day YouTube, my name's Lance and welcome to Bundy Bear's Shed. Well, the weather report, look, it's a bit, it's been bloody windy. We're pushing around 30-degree temperatures, which is fine. The nights are nice and cool still, and at the moment the air's clear. I don't know if you can hear in the background, but the highway's a couple of k's away and the breeze is coming that way, and you can hear the few motorbikes and that going to work. Yeah, I think you may hear that. But anyway, whether you can or you can't, just doesn't bloody matter really, eh? I'll just keep flapping my gums. Today's Remembrance Day, November 11 that we're filming this, and so yeah, if you take a moment out of your day at 11 o'clock and yeah, look, have a bit of a think about those that paid the ultimate sacrifice. So we can sit up in the shed here and play tractors and share videos amongst ourselves and do the things that we take for granted. So take a moment out of your day, and you probably won't get this on the 11th, but I hope that you do. Take a moment to have a think about that. What I mean. On the news at the moment, there's these Aussie bushfires, and what I mean. And what goes on in Australia is these silly green bastards. They've locked up all this national park and forestry, and once where you could graze, do a little bit of light cattle grazing into a place, and go four-wheel driving, and the timber cutters were allowed in. My old man was a timber cutter, and they'd go up into the forestry down at the Sunshine Coast there. Every 10 years they'd be allowed into these blocks, and they had a forestry licence, and they weren't allowed to just go in there chopping away willy-nilly. The forestry blokes, they'd put an afternoon aside or a day aside, and they'd meet up the forestry with the forestry fellas. And the government workers, they'd have a can of bright paint, and they'd run through, and any trees that they thought were suitable for milling, that that weren't the old growth stuff and all that, there were new stuff. Every 10 years they'd mark the trees that they were allowed to take, and they'd go in. It wasn't, and all the greenies used to go crook because, it's open slather. They thought they just went in there and cleaned everything up, but they just didn't. So, and in New South Wales the other day, there was these greenies were patting themselves on the back, about 40 years since anyone's been allowed into a piece of forestry, and how good it was for the animals and all that. Well, in Australia now, these wildfires, these bushfires have got out of control, and there's nothing left, no animals, no nothing. So the things that they could have saved by managing stuff instead of just locking it away, a bit them on the arse. But not only them, it's a bit everyone on the arse. They've lost homes, and you can have a national park next to your property, and your dog isn't allowed to go through and have a poop in the fence through the fence. Yet they have dingoes and wild mongrel dogs and all sorts of things come through and clean up your crops and clean up your livestock. But that's just silly government bullshit, isn't it, really? So and to put things into perspective, just this last weekend, on the news it just said before that the fires that they had in California recently burned out around 80,000 hectares. In 2 days so far in New South Wales, they've done 800,000 hectares. So, a hectare's two and a bit acres, I suppose. And so that puts it into perspective a little bit for you. There's a lot of people this weekend lost their homes, and 3 have lost their lives, I think. There's about 150 homes gone, and it's not just in New South Wales, it's up north of us in Yeppoon. And so poor buggers. Hey, it must be hard to go through that. We've got a little bit of a plan going on here for when things happen, and sometimes part of our plan is as simple as if there's a bit of a fire in the area, we go and get all the tractors and we park them on the driveway where there's no grass around the tyres. And I've got the little firefighting rig, which I've promised to do a video on, which I probably should do. And the high tank out the back here, we've got 1,000 gallons up high, So if a fire comes through, we start the pump. We have that tank overflowing, so that keeps it all wet around it for the... I've only got polythene pipe, I probably should put galvanised pipe in. And I can fill that 1,000 litre pod, IBC pod, I can fill that up in around 4 minutes. And on the corner of the shed here at Bundy Bear's shed, if we have power on still, the power hasn't been cut, we have a 5,000 gallon tank here with a pressure pump and taps and long hoses that can cover the whole width of the block here. So, but look, hopefully we've got a bit of bush around us, but not the amount of bush. It's not thick bush, and as I've showed in the last few videos, our bush is very sparse at the moment. There'll be quite a bit on the ground there, but up high, up in the tops of the trees, there's not an awful lot there to burn at the moment. So anyway, we've got to think of those poor buggers that have lost their homes and their sheds and their tractor collections, no doubt. Look, everyone will, they'll have lost a lot of stuff. So that's just how it is. Government bullshit, and governments can cost people a lot of money. But yeah, if someone trips over on your driveway, they can sue you, but you can't touch the government. So that's how it works. But last week, back on brighter things, yeah. Oh look, while we're still on the fire thing, they're saying Tuesday, Wednesday next week. Holy shit, they reckon it's going to be catastrophic down south. So let's hope not. Let's hope we get a change, but not much we can do. We've had no rain here. I'm watering the trees and that, just trying to keep the show on the road. And yeah, we'll see how we go. 2019 for a lot of people has been a hard year. Yeah, it'd be really hard for some now, but I have a bit of a whinge and a grizzle, but I've got nothing to worry about compared with these other poor folks. So last week, back on to brighter things. Last week I took a couple of days off, and I'm sitting here next to the old trusty multi-power. I don't know, can you see over? Oh, I can't see what you can bloody see. Oh yeah, that Coleman chair there, that's the 6-speed, the Massey Ferguson 6-speed over there. This is the multi-power. Now, last week I took a couple of days off work, and I rattled out a few videos, probably 8 or 10 or something like that. And I was going to just have a couple in the kitty and just every couple of days dribble them out, and I thought, it's just a pain in the arse remembering to do that. I'll just, as they're ready, just dump them. So that's what I'm doing, just dumping them out there. So it'll be like a feast or a famine. You'll have jack shit to watch, but there's plenty of other good blokes to watch. So there's good stuff out there. And so anyway, last week I split this tractor, and I did the clutch. I pulled the flywheel off. That little Makita gun I bought, this one here. Yeah, look. What a cracker little thing. It's a Makita DTW 253 18 volt, and that not only did it undo the clutch bolts, it rattled the main flywheel bolts off too, and they're about 80 foot-pounds. So I was impressed with this little thing. I thought, I put a little 3/4 impact on it, and I thought, I'll just give it a go, just to see how good it was. And it got them all. I had to work a bit hard on a couple, but it got them. I just, that hammer mechanism and got it. So, look, that was that was a great thing. I was really happy with that. And I thought, what a handy little thing. Nice size. I can put a little 1.5 amp battery on if I want it a bit lighter, but I'm not that old and rooted yet. I can still handle a nut gun. And another thing that I bought last week, I bought it a couple of weeks ago, and I've just been waiting for it to turn up. And I over-servicing the young bloke's car. I had a snap-on light and I dropped it and broke it, and I'm always spending money on those snap-on lights. So that's the longest run I've had for one, because I've been careful with it, but obviously not careful enough. But I hopped on eBay the other day looking for a new light to replace it, and I came up with a bloke that looks like he was 3D printing bases for Makita batteries, and they're doing Milwaukee as well, and I see some other ones there. When you look into it, there's quite a few. I could probably 3D print these now I've seen them, but what he's selling is this light. It has a Makita 18 volt mount, and like I say, there's Milwaukee ones and all that as well. And with this, you just slide your Makita battery on, and we have a light. Now that's bloody bright. Hey, put myself in the spotlight. And look, I thought, yeah, that's a pretty good idea. And it can sit, you can sit it like that, and yeah, you can have the light up or down, and then you can also put it back and reflect it off the roof. So this one has a switch in it, so you can switch it off. And anyway, I was looking around the fella's site on eBay, because I thought, well, that's handy, because you can actually sit this on the floor. And what I'm thinking of doing is, where we have a couple of screw mount holes here, I was thinking of putting a little bracket there and making it so I could hang it if I wanted to, but I'm just going to see. I could probably hang it up off the wire and, you know, put a bit of wire there and get it up in a wheel bay or something like that if I chose to. But having a look at the bloke's site on Evil Bay, and I see he just has these blank ones, and the idea is that you can hook your Makita battery up, and you can use your Makita battery as a power supply for all sorts of different bits and pieces. And what I was thinking was, with this light here, they say it does a couple of hours, and look, it's a bright light, and what have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 LEDs. I think it. Look, I wouldn't be sure, but I think it was 27 watts. But I'm just not 100% sure. So I bought a couple of these off him. They're about 25 bucks. I didn't get one with a switch on. With the switch, I thought, yeah, just something else to bugger up, something else to go wrong. And what I've had tucked away over in the corner, I've had a couple of these little single LEDs. So I've just got a couple of push terminals. I was thinking of soldering them in, and I thought, oh look, if you ever have trouble or something like that, yeah, you can just unplug it. So I've gone that way with this one, and this will last a lot longer. And what I was thinking of, doing a bit of tractor trekking, mucking around, you just take this thing, and I've always got Makita batteries with me when I go camping, because I often take a nut gun, and I've got a fluoro that I hang up in the gazebo or on the tent, and it's like a Makita torch. It can be a fluoro or a torch if you need to go for a stroll. But I thought, look, this thing, it's nice and light, and without the switch, you just put him on, and that's bright. And yeah, look, it's just a neat little invention. You see some things and you think, God, that's bloody natty. Why didn't I think of that? And once again, this can sit on with this little lip here, it can sit on the it can sit on a flat surface, and you can have the light wherever you need to. I thought these lights would be particularly handy for like filming on tractors and machining and all that. Sometimes you need a bit of light coming up and under to get the definition, and I do have some LED work lights that I use quite regularly. Pardon me, a bit of asthma with the smoke around. And over the other side there's an orange pole goes up with two LEDs, 240 volt LEDs. So I use them quite a bit if it's in a dark corner or something like that. So look, that's a great little invention. And for those of you with 3D printers, after I saw that, I thought, oh, look, I bet he's 3D printed them, because they're a light plastic polymer sort of thing. And I thought, I bet someone's 3D printed these. So well, look, it's hard to say, because he's got a paint a coating on them, to seal the wires seal the terminals. It looks like a fill of resin inside here where the wires come onto these terminals. So, but I jumped into Thingiverse on Google, and you can see where there's a couple of people are sort of 3D printing things like that. There's bits and pieces, and another interesting thing I saw there on that same vein was that a couple of blokes in there, they're printing things that you can slide a Makita battery into an adapter that they've made to go up into a Ryobi, or it's a mix and match. You can put your Milwaukee battery onto a Makita and back and forwards. And something I just never bloody thought of. And once I saw them, I thought beauty. So I've got another one of these little lights, and so I'll mount that up when time allows. And yeah, look, we'll set that up and get that going. I just thought, yeah, nice little thing for those of you that work on tractors and muck around. If you want a good light source, if you're out trekking or you want to chuck one in your ute or something like that and you have a nut gun anyway, well, you may as well, take something like that. So look, stew's going to be short today. I'm having today off. Today's Monday, when it's our normal stew day, and I'm having Tuesday as well this week. I just want to kick on with some of these jobs. Yesterday I had the grandkids here, and I've readjusted all the tractors over there now. I got the Farmall 100 out for a run. I put on Facebook, I might give this whole heap of shit a run, just to wind me mates up. Well, that worked. A few good bites. Yeah, it took a while. I think some of them must have been snoozing on Sunday morning to kick in and rip it into me, but anyway, that was all right. But through the week, the John Deere 420, the high crop, the battery had buggered up on that, and I hadn't got around to buying a new one. So I've cleaned up over the other side of the shed there a little bit, and so I've got a battery in that. I've got a battery in the Farmall 100 now, and so the Fergies the 4-cylinder diesels are going to take a while. They're up in the corner here now, out of the way, and the tractors that I can start and run any time and play with, the Johnny, the Farmall 100, the FE35 grey and gold, and Grumpy Dave's tractor, they're all where I can get at them easily. Grumpy Dave's tractor that I bought off him, pardon me, got a bit of asthma this morning with this smoke around, I think, and he was complaining that he had water in the oil all the time, and anyway, I ended up buying the tractor. Another bloke bought the tractor, then I did a deal with the other bloke and got it back, got it here, but it's got new pistons, liners, sleeves, a full engine kit in it, but it's been leaking a bit of water into the sump. So I got it home, I cleaned all the sump out, I changed the oil, I had 2 or 3 oil changes, and I had that sump sparkling, and I put a radiator pressure tester on it. It would hold 15 pound all day. I couldn't see any drop there. By running it, I kept dropping the bung on the sump to see if there's any moisture in there, and there was none, and that lasted for a while. But look, I parked it over the back of the shed. Then the other day I thought to myself, I haven't even looked at that bloody thing for quite a while now, so I dropped the sump bung a little bit, and I must have got about probably a dessert tablespoon of water out of the bottom. So it's still got a little water leak somewhere. So I popped a thing on the FE35 Facebook page and just asking for hints and tips on what it may be, because I know that Grumpy Dave, he put 3 head gaskets on it chasing this problem, and the last head gasket he even got a proper Fergie bloke, the freelance fella in town to come and do it. And so the suggestions were that they may have a liner low, they may have not shimmed the liners right and had one low, and one bloke said he'd had that, and that's what his trouble was. So look, whether it's that, you would think if the head was off 3 times and had the Massey bloke there, he would have actually checked for that. I've had them in the past where, and if you remember me little gold petrol tractor, remember I just had a little bit of coolant up near the rockers, and they've got that aluminium plug in the head, and they eat through a little bit, and I'm just wondering if it's that. but yeah, we're going to do a bit of a investigation into that over the next few weeks, and just to look, just out of interest really. And I'd like to know what's going on with it. Like, you can drive it and you can do whatever you like with it, but it's just this little water problem. And they're a dry liner, so it's not down the bottom of a sleeve. It's a dry liner. They slide in easily. Like, they're not a really tight fit for a liner, but being a dry liner, then the head clamps them down, and you can shim them a little bit if you need to. Usually if they're not cleaned out, they'll crack, but it's all new. It starts okay. I did the injection pump up for him ages and ages ago, and but anyway, that'll just be an interesting little thing. Another thing that happened through the week is my mate Alan. He had a pottery kiln on the local buy, swap and sell on Facebook, and anyway, he had it there for $200, and so I messaged him and I said, "Hey Alan, what temperature would that get to?" And he says, "Oh look, it does nearly 2,000 degrees." And I said, "Oh geez, that'd be plenty warm enough to melt alloy, wouldn't it? Aluminium." Because I've got some pistons out the back there that I've saved over the years. I've got a whole 44-gallon drum full of pistons, and just with the view to melting them down into ingots, and learning about casting when I retire better. And I've done a little bit, but I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination. And he said, "Oh, do you want it?" And I said, "Oh, I was just interested because it's this big and this high, and it's gas fired, and it's got a pyrometer and all that sort of thing with it." And anyway, I said, "Oh, I'm sort of interested, Alan," but I said, "Oh, look, not really at the moment. I was just wondering, if something like that would be good for doing, putting a crucible in and heating it up and melting alloy." And he said, "Oh, it'll melt alloy, no trouble at all." So I said, "Oh yeah." I said, look, not ready yet. I just thought it was worth a yarn." And anyway, he rings back 10 minutes later, and he says, "My missus reckons I'm a lousy bastard." He says, "She says you can have it." And I was, "Oh really?" And yeah, look, when he was doing up a grey Fergie, and I had an old wreck one out here, and it had a good gearbox in it, and Alan had a gearbox that was seized. You couldn't move the selectors, and it was buggered. So just to help him get his tractor going, I gave him the tractor. I said, "Oh, here, Alan, just have that." And he said, "Oh, what do you want?" And I said, "Oh, nothing, just take the tractor, and any leftover bits, bring them back if you want to, or give them away, or just do what you like." And but anyway, that gave him a gearbox for his, and I never charged him, and it was just helping someone out. So one good turn deserves another. So after a few years, he's given me this this pottery furnace, and he's got spare fire bricks, and he's got these little triangles, and you put them in, and when they get to 1,060 degrees or something, they slump over, and he's put some of that in, and it's got like a woolen frame on it that's good for 2,000 degrees C. And pardon me. So I've got another toy over there. I'm not ready to pull the trigger with that yet. He dropped it off the other day because I was home. He said, "Look, I've got this thing in the trailer. I'll drop it over." And I said, "Yeah, okay, that'll be nice, thanks." And so we got that over, and so it's just going to sit in the road for a little while. But it was a nice gesture that they gave it to me, and yeah, so it's probably a bit big, but I was looking at it the other day, after sitting down contemplating like you do, and looking at it, and I was thinking, I wonder, is there stuff there where I could build an oven like this big, and like it'd be great for heat treating and all that sort of thing. You could actually turn it down, and look, I imagine the gas wouldn't be as sensitive. The temperature control wouldn't be the same as with an electric one, but who knows? It was just a good thing, something else for the shed. And but yeah, it's I don't know. I have a lot to learn, but I was thinking I could make a smaller one with that stuff from there. And but anyway, perhaps I will, perhaps I won't. But at the moment, today's job is pop the steering box off the top of the multi-power tractor here, pull the gearbox out, get the gearbox on the stand that I did the 6-speed on, and we'll run through that and see why the multi-power is not working. There's a Massey Ferguson tractor wrecker in New South Wales at Inverell called Gordon Ellis, and he's a mate of mine, and I ring him up for bits and pieces, knick-knacks, and we're talking for an hour, hour and a half every time. So we did that last week, and where the multi-power, I've got the multi-power switch on the dash here, but all the linkages and all that have been taken, and when the bloke disabled the multi-power, he just must have chucked them in the bin. I don't know what he's done with them. I didn't get them. So we're talking to Gordon about that, so Gordon's going to send that up and another couple of different items for us. All for this 135 multi-power, and through the week in Queensland, because of the temperature here, we don't have the cold or anything like that, and an engine in good nick will start every time. So this plug that sits out into the inlet manifold, the heater, I like to piss them off out of it if I can. They can dribble fuel into your engine, and they really restrict that inlet, but yeah, obviously it's still good enough to do the tractor. But I went downtown and I got a couple of bungs, and I've machined the end off them, and that'll go in the side of the manifold, so this won't be there, so there'll be a little bit of a, pardon me, a bit of a plumbing fiddle there. That little reservoir, we don't need that anymore at the back of the tank, it's going. And it's all about making the tractor as simple as possible with less shit on it that we don't need, and yeah, just so when we're out on the road there's nothing to go wrong, like, you know, this can't go wrong, or, you know, where a bung screwed in there, it'll go fine. So that's it this week. I'll just take you for a quick walk over, show you, I'll just pan around really and just show you the tractors where I've shifted them to. I've got another fitting here for the John Deere 1640 hydraulics that I was short, so I'll probably get that on today. But first job today is this multi-power tractor. The 6-speed over there, I probably need, I'm waiting on an injector seal for that, but I'll have the injection pipes there. And but the main focus today is going to be on the multi-power tractor. So hopefully in a couple of days there's a couple of videos on the multi-power, stripping the gearbox. I'm hoping to do that. I've got a new clutch plate. I've got a new clutch plate here for the trekking tractor, so that's going in today, and there'll be a few other bits and pieces. So that's it. Have a good week, everybody. Thanks for dropping in, and we'll catch you all next week, eh? Well, this is where I've changed all the tractors around in here. This one here, that's a old 35 with a crook engine. It's a deluxe. It's got the dual clutch and all. The one over behind it, that's the 35 with the coal start head. I've got Goldie here. That's where I have a sneaky snooze. Then Grumpy Dave's tractor behind that. And then when we come around this other side here, I've got the Farmall 100 there, and the John Deere there near the doorway. And that way I can just open that door and take that one out. The Farmall can come out that same door, and the gold one here can just come out straight forward. So we can get the tractors out easily. I still need to have a fiddle with the John Deere. And if we turn around, that's the little firefighting thing. We're going to do a video on that very soon. And we have the multi-power there, just round the corner behind that sign. That's the 6-speed, and that's the harvester tractor. So yeah, that's a bit of the layout of the place at the moment. Alright, we'll catch you next week.